go, boys? Back with another video. Today we're going to be doing a good old-fashioned Blitz tier list. Now, I don't personally play Blitz that often, and it's mainly because of the rating gains. It's like 10 times longer than in solo shuffle, where I can get 2400 in like 3 queue sessions. And if I do a good win-loss ratio, I get high rate. I get rewarded at least until I get to like 2400. Past that, the MMR's trash, but you know what I'm trying to say. Just 20 20 points when you're at 2800 playing at 1800 here versus the ratio that I'm getting in solo shuffle. It's just not worth. I just don't want to spend my entire night to get 50 rating. But that being said, let's get on with this video. Again, this isn't 100% accurate. I'm just doing it based off my recollection of the class. Overall, we don't know what's going to be the best, but we have an idea. So the first one, Affliction Warlock, is going to be A tier. Overall, has a lot of damage, has a lot of CC, has gate, port. It's mainly his damage though. Not only on top of that, 6-second kick from a lock on a healer is really good peeling. On top of being able to just spam fear, but it's mainly its damage. Its overall damage in a team fight gonna be really strong. It's gonna be pretty much good for everything other than maybe like sitting a base. But overall, it's gonna be really good for like stopping people from capping because they hit everything at the same time. It's gonna be really good. Good option as well. It's still a good option to this day, surprisingly. The next one we have is Destro, which is going to be B tier. Um, Destro can be an A tier spec when it free casts. The problem is at once you get past like the newer players, they're just gonna focus you. Like you're never gonna get the free cast after that first additional lower MMR game. That's the only problem with Destro, and it's always been its problem. It's one of the high skill caps for Warlock. It's by far the hardest to play, and it hasn't been the meta in a very long time. But yeah, it's mainly just a Chaos Bolt bot that if you know how to fake cast and you can get it done, great. But normally you're gonna get locked down before you even get to do anything. Overall, still playable, but not the best option. The next one we have is Demo Warlock, which is gonna be C tier. Still playable in a sense. Honestly, it's probably D tier. Honestly, if I'm being, yeah, okay, we'll put it at D tier. I think Demo Warlock is one of the worst specs in the game for Blitz. The only usefulness that it can maybe have is sitting a base. It's not going to be good for hitting base, and it may be good defensively, but it's going to struggle killing people. It's just going to be a stun bot. Overall, one of the worst options that you can pick right now. The next one we have, Pharaoh Druid, which is going to be S tier. Pretty much anything that has stealth, even if it's not that great in arena, is going to be very well in solo blitz because it's all about Pharaoh Druids can off cart, Pharaoh Druids can hit bases, Pharaoh Druids can hit the EFC, and they can steal bases. They can do it all. The only thing I'd say they're not that good at is flag carrying, which is fine. That's like the one downside. Usually healers flag carry, but still good for everything else. The next one we have is Boomy. Again, another really, really good option. 2 incarns automatically makes you strong, really strong. Root Beam, Cyclone, and just a lot of AoE damage. It's one of the highest gaps of damage that you're going to be able to get. It's going to do a lot of damage, a lot of CC, and a lot of burst. You have everything. And obviously it having stealth is a really good option as well. The next one we have is Wrestler Druid, which is going to be one of your worst healers. I wouldn't even say playable, but I am going to say it's no, yeah, we're just gonna say it's unplayable. I just don't believe it. I feel like it's gonna die in 3 seconds, and it's just gonna go way before everyone else. Not gonna be a good option at all. Don't play it. Don't do it to your team unless you're playing low rated. The next one we have is going to be Tank Druid, which honestly I would just put it at C tier just to why not. I feel like a tank's better than a non-Mistweaver or Pres Evoker flanker at least. But overall, tanks are usually, frowned upon because they're just not good. Now that there's the 50% added on damage to them, they kind of take a lot of damage. They can be good in certain situations, but overall, healer's going to have way more mobility and a lot more, ways to get away. The next one we have is going to be BM Hunter, which is going to be not the best option either. Maybe you could sit it at a pace and that would be fine. But overall, an Hunter is just going to be so much stronger in terms of burst and just overall just able to flatline somebody. BM Hunter, I would say it's maybe good for sitting a base, or yeah, that's about it. I wouldn't even say it's that good either. I would say Demo Warlock is like in the same spot, honestly. Um, Yeah. I don't think anything's really D tier, but like AUG or something. I don't really want to put stuff because D tier means it's unplayable and everything is playable no matter what, even if it's bad. So let's keep it at that. The next one we have is MM Hunter, which is going to be S tier as well. Again, has stealth, it has burst damage, and it has CC. It has everything you could want. Now, I will say it's a little bit on the weaker side. It doesn't really have a long range of burst, but it does do explosive burst. It's probably one of the quickest bursts that you're going to be able to get, other than like a Boomy. You're just doing a lot of bursts quickly. It barely takes a second after you get out of stealth to just pop off. It's a lot of dam. It is very good. The next one we have is going to be Survival Hunter. I had a little bit of a skip there. I had to get some water, so that if there was, random skip, you'll know why. The next one we're going with is going to be Survival Hunter, which is going to be pretty much in the same spot as these ones. Not going to be that good at all. I think its burst is actually not terrible, but in the sense of like an MM Hunter, it's not even close. Survival Hunter is kind of just that spec that's not very good at anything. It can be playable, and that's great, but overall, not going to be your best option. The next slot we have here is going to be Arms Warrior. Kinda in the same position. Me personally, I don't see it being good or viable in any sense at all. I think it's just going to be that one spec that's going to get out damaged by like a DK or anything else. So you want at least a one or two melees on your team, mainly due to the fact that they're focusing on the melees and not the casters, allowing them to free cast. Like for example, Frost DK and Unholy DK are super viable in that sense because they're able to grip them into you. You're able to set up for your team. Now you may not be insane overall, but you are going to be that melee for the team that's going to set stuff up for you. Arms Warrior's not that class. It's going to go in there, going to maybe hit somebody, but overall, after its burst, it's pretty much useless. The next one we have is going to be Fury Warrior. Fury, I don't know how good it would be, to be honest. Maybe I can see it being B tier because it's going to do an explosive amount of damage that could end up benefiting you, especially for like the D team. I wouldn't say it's that good on O wise. It does a lot of damage, but I feel like it'd be better to just kill people. You're slaughtering stuff as it comes in. That's the only way I could see Fury being like viable in that sense. Sure, it could work, but overall, it's kind of just gonna be that melee brain that's just sitting there. The next one we have is gonna be Prot Warrior, which is garbage. So the next we're going with is going to be Dev Evoker, which is also going to be A tier. Dev Evoker, a really, really strong spec. And that's pretty much an obvious. It just does a lot of damage, and it's explosive damage. You're doing a lot of AoE. You're really going on pretty much everything. You have sweep, you have rescue, you have just a lot of things. And on top of that, it's just your amount of burst dam and consistency. It's going to end up benefiting your team a lot. The next one we have is Prez Evoker, which is going to be S tier. Again, one of the better flag carriers. That and Mistweaver are going to be your best options. So not only do they do unhealable healing, but they're going to be pretty much good at everything else. Just overall, really good. That's pretty much that. Next one we have is Augmentation. Not going to be that good at all. Just again, going to be one of those useless specs that aren't going to do much to, offer anything at all. They're kind of just those off-meta specs that sure you can make them work, but it's not going to be good at all in any sense, shape, or form, and that's pretty much just how that goes. The next one we have is going to be Fire Mage. Fire Mage is in an interesting spot. I think even still, after the nerfs it's had, I think an AoE build is going to be actually pretty solid still. I wouldn't say it's the best though. It's just okay. It's going to be playable. It's not going to be unplayable, but it's not going to be that great either. It's still good. You're still going to be able to do an AoE build and just kind of shred. You will die kind of fast, and that's why it's in B tier, not A tier. Otherwise, you'd just be a massive Ignite build, and that's pretty much all you're doing. The next one we have is Frost Mage, which is going to be A tier. Frost Mage is just really good for a lot of reasons. It's just really good peeling. You have Ice Wall, which is basically, if you guys don't know what an Ice Wall is, it's a massive ice wall that literally blocks people from, being LOS of their team. If you know how to use that, for example, if there's an enemy tank or your team runs through the tunnel and you basically gate it off, that gives you enough time to either kill the flag carrier or help your guy get away. It's just overall you have a lot of burst damage You have Sheeps, which you're just a peel bot. You have a lot of burst, solid on team fight, solid for pretty much everything. Just overall really good. The next one we have is going to be Arcane Mage. Is kind of in the same position as like Fire Mage and Destro. Um, Not the greatest, but it's still playable. You're still gonna see them. You're still gonna, be able to have a chance. The only reason they have a chance is because their burst damage is so good to where it's like it's worth. Like they're not just hitting somebody and they're not dying. Whoever they're hitting on their burst, they're gonna be hitting hard, kind of like a Fury Warrior. But still, overall, I don't think Fury Warrior is that great because I feel like after its burst, it's gonna just flop. Like it's gonna die pretty quick. Again, this could easily be C tier. I don't really know about that. Um, I just don't know. I haven't really seen it. So you guys will have to let me know. Is Fury Warrior lower than this? Because I have a good feeling that it is, but I just based on how good it is in Arena, that's kind of like where my mindset goes. But I really don't know. So we'll keep it at that. The next one we're going with is Assassination Rogue. Going to be a really, really good option. And again, rogues are going to be your number one priority in a blitz. You want one rogue of any spec. Mainly, yeah, just really any spec because they're going to be good at everything, but maybe like teamfight. Assassination Rogue is like the one exception to being solid at teamfight because it's just an AoE bot. But everything else wise, gonna be just hitters and off cards. So all rogue specs are gonna be really good. And the reason I'm putting sub at first, even though sub, actually no, what I'll do is I'll put outlaw, assassination, then sub. And the reason I'm putting outlaw first is because the double grapple. You're getting across the map insanely quick, like pretty much faster than any other rogue or any spec in the game. Pretty much, you're already there. On top of that, um, I wouldn't say Outlaw Rogue is good in team fights, but compared to Sub, it's a lot better. Sub is that one spec that you only want to be in an off cart or a hitter. You're never going to see it in team fight, and if you do, they're just harassing the healers. Overall, though, all three specs really good. The next one we're going to be going over is going to be Elemental Shaman, which isn't going to be that great. I would say it's at least a little bit better than the other ones. Now that it has really, really insane burst. Now, if this was beforehand when it didn't be able, when it wasn't one-shotting everybody, you could say that it's bad. Um, Again, another spec, I just don't know if it's insane in Blitz or not. I feel like if it's using that totem, it can literally one-shot everybody. So just being that, I'm going to put it updates here. Just because I can already predict that there's going to be a totem that can AoE flame strike everybody, and then they just do their one shot burst on everybody. I don't really know, but I'm just in my head. I'm looking at the scenario of them just being able to one shot on their burst. The next one we have is going to be Wrestle Shaman. Not going to be that great, to be honest. Definitely better than Wrestler Druid, but overall not going to be the greatest. You're going to want, Disc, Mistweaver, or Prize Evoker, and that's pretty much all there is to that. Holy Priest is actually the worst healer in the game. I would say it's worse than Wrestler Druid, but they're in kind of the same category. Not going to be great. You're not going to want to see these guys on your team. It's just not going to be that good. And honestly, I would play. No. I think their budget's terrible. I just don't see them being viable at all. The next one we have is HL, which is going to be better than the other options, to be honest. Because the reason is utility-wise, it has a lot. Double bump, sack, lay on hands, their own trinket, bubble, and a lot of healing. Now, while that's not the insane thing about them, it's just utility. It's kind of like a Disc Priest, but not as good. I would say Disc is just overall better. You have grip, you have a lot more of just like that works with a lot of people. While HBL is still playable, you're still going to see a okay amount of these guys, but they're not going to be like insanely OP or nothing. Just playable. It's just like an option, like a secondary option that you can play. The next one we have is Mistweaver, which is going to be easily, if not the best healer, the second best healer in the game. Overall, it's going to be having one of the top healings in the game, if not the top. They just do a ton of healing. They're really good flag carriers like Prez Evokers, and that's pretty much all there is to it. Overall, really nice. One of the best healers in the game. The next one we have is Disc Priest. This is going to be your third and best S tier healer. Now, I wouldn't say Disc Priest is necessarily on par. So, the only reason I'm putting it as S tier is because of overallness, it's going to be, you kind of want a Disc Priest. Now, your best healer comp is going to be Prez Evoker and Mistweaver. So that being said, we can do something like this. So, because do I personally think Disc Priest is as good as Prez and Mistweaver? Not really. Disc Priest isn't going to be able to flag carry. Disc Priest aren't going to be able to keep up with healing, but they utility they're better. So it's not like you get this and you instantly lose, but they're still viable. They're still okay. I think Disc Priest is better than H-File, but like H-File and Wrestle Shop are kind of the outliers to that. The next one we have is going to be Shadow Priest. Shadow Priest is in a weird spot where I don't think it's that good, to be honest. Um, I can see it maybe working with some type of AoE build, but I just don't see it being that useful in terms of like it's gonna have a lot of burst and that's okay, but overall it's just not gonna be as good as like any B tier spec. I feel like the B tiers they have a ton of AoE damage, they're doing good, and honestly for Warrior I'm gonna put it down here as well. And I don't know about it, but I just don't see a melee without stealth being that good. The next one we have is going to be Enhancement Shaman. Kind of in the same position. Not going to be that great. Just going to be a outlier spec that you may see, but not going to want. Again, these aren't in, specific order. So, like, if, the best I can say is, like, this. So, there's something like that, but not going to be that great. The next one we have is going to be Demon Hunter. Demon Hunter is not going to be that great, I don't feel like. If this was Dragonflight Demon Hunter, it'd be a different story. And the only reason I think they're even viable in the first place is because of their eyeball. They're going to heavily counter. Okay, just because of that, just because they heavily can counter stealthies. So basically, they have eyeball. That is a very nice cooldown to have if you're, floating. Because you're basically able to see, okay, well, I know when you're hitting a base. You can predict, if you're a really good DH that stays back and you use your eyeball correctly, you can pretty much solo carry and, basically preemptively stop them from stealing a base. It's that powerful. Overall, though, it's going to get 1v1 by NEA or beat S tier spec, but overall, I feel like just utility-wise, just because of that eyeball, it's going to be okay. The next one we have is Brewmaster Monk, Terrible, Blood DK. I'd say Blood DK is probably your better tank. Not the best, obviously. It's just probably your best option. It's just going to be a lot tankier, I think. It does a lot of healing. It's pretty much solo healing itself. And then maybe like DH. Like if you play really well as a Demon Hunter tank, they have a lot of mobility. Overall, though, again, the tanks aren't going to be that good. I'm just putting them here because it's like it's all flyers. It's like, oh, well, you can make it work, but that's pretty much it. They're all kind of just trash to be honest, though. The next one we have Prot, terrible. We have Windwalker, another outlier spec that's not going to be great at all. I think Windwalker would probably be better than like right here, so not that good either. Windwalker doesn't bring anything to the table other than pure damage, and while that may be really good offensively, overall it's just gonna die before it even gets there. They're gonna get focused and they're gonna die like a Fury Warrior or a Survival Hunter or an Enhance or Arms. They're just gonna die. They don't bring any value. Like for example, DK's bringing grips, and that's the only reason it's viable. So the next one we have is Ret Paladin. If Ret Paladin is actually going to be pretty good. It's kind of hard to put this somewhere because do I really feel like it's I think it's right here. So the reason I'm putting it here is because offensively it's going to be good. You're going to have lay on hands, bop, sack, bubble. You're going to have a lot to basically go in on the offensive. Your damage isn't going to be anywhere near the A tier slot though. Like any A tier plus, they're doing a lot more damage. But offensively wise, that's why you're viable. But everything else wise, you're kind of just defensively you're alright, and offensively you're good. Team fight wise, I wouldn't say they're the best, but you do have a good amount of burst. The next one we have is Unholy DK, which in my personal opinion is A tier, and the only reason that is because of grip and A bomb. You're pretty much able to get everybody in one specific location and blow them up with your entire team. That right there, you are basically the team fight leader. You grip in a healer, you can go the healer. Whoever you grip in towards your team, you are killing. You are the main person, the target killer. You decide what dies. And that's the only reason I'm going to be putting Frost DK also at a higher level as well. Only due to the grips. Now I would say Frosting is actually not bad in the terms of just blowing stuff up. I can 100% see it doing that, but I'm not going to get too unrealistic, so I will be putting it a little bit lower on the list here. Um, Still good, though. I don't know how good Frost is, but I know on Holy DK, bleed-wise, it's going to do a lot of damage. Uh, they're going to be doing easily 1,000,000 damage a second just by their, bleeds. And then obviously they're going to be really good for everything else. Gripping is the main thing, though. And obviously, other than the grip, they'd probably be B tier as well. But for now, I honestly believe that it deserves a spot up here. That's just for now. That's just my opinion. Again, you can basically consider this like a B tier spec, just because the grip. So we'll just say this. So let me know what you guys thought about this video. I just tried to get this done quick, but I do have a headache and I'm ready to log off. So make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and let me know what you guys want to see next. Should I do a 2v2 tier list or do a part 2 how to get gladiator video? Who knows what we'll do next. Hopefully you guys did enjoy the video. Make sure you subscribe if you haven't already so you get all my videos, notifications, and everything else. It's been X. Peace, peace.